Our next lesson, we're going to deal with lines and angles. So looking at some new vocabulary, parallel, perpendicular lines, and also angle pairs. If you look at the first part of your handout, you'll see we have parallel lines. Parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. In a figure, they are marked with matching arrows to indicate that they are parallel. This symbol right here, with the two lines, essentially, they are parallel lines, a mini version. That is the symbol for parallel lines. You'll see that incorporated here in a bit. For perpendicular lines intersect at 90-degree angles or right angles. In a figure, they are marked with a right angle box. So for instance, in this box below, you'll see the right angle box here as an example. The symbol for perpendicular is like an upside down T, almost again a mini version of perpendicular lines. We actually have a third set of lines that we're going to add here called skew lines, so more new vocabulary. Skew lines are not coplanar, and skew lines are also not parallel, and they do not intersect. So let's take a look at an example. If you look at line ON, you'll see line ON here, and we're going to look at also line MQ. So MQ is vertical over here. So as you can see, ON is in its own plane, and MQ vertically in a different plane. So again, skew lines not coplanar, not parallel, and do not intersect. If we look at some pairs of parallel and perpendicular lines, we have a few examples on the left. So segment OS is parallel to segment NR. So if we look at NR is here, OS is here, they're in the same plane and they're moving in the same direction, therefore those two lines parallel. You'll notice also the little arrows here noted with each set that go together. So double arrows on all of these vertical lines, and then single arrows marking parallel for all the horizontal lines in just this figure alone. Really segments, since we're looking at a box, but we refer to parallel lines, perpendicular lines. Another set of parallel lines here, or segments in this figure, we have ON and LM. So ON and LM, again in the same plane and parallel. If we look at a pair of perpendicular lines, you're looking for your box to indicate the 90-degree angle. So MQ and QR. This is read as segment MQ is perpendicular to segment QR. Another example, segment PS is perpendicular to segment SR. So if we look at that one on the diagram, we see PS here, and it makes that right angle with SR. For our next class, you're going to go ahead and finish the questions on this side. So answer questions 1 through 4 for next time. On the other side of your handout, let's also review a few angle pairs. So we have a graphic organizer here. A few things to point out. Add labels onto your diagram. So we have this vertical line here. Let's label it T. And then you have two lines here, horizontal. Let's label them R and S. We have several new vocabulary terms in this section. Our first one being a transversal. A transversal is a line that intersects two coplanar lines at two different points. So in this diagram, our transversal is line T, and we'll notice it crosses the two lines line R and line S, at two different points. And those points would be right here and right here. We label this diagram with exterior, so that would be anywhere on the outside down in this area, and then also above in the exterior of that set of lines. For the interior, we're looking for between lines R and S. So anything in this area, angles in this area, would be interior for this diagram. Label your diagram as well. So now let's take a look at our pairs of angles. A pair is two. When you're listing these angles, make sure you do list two angles to make the pair. For our first definition, we're going to look at corresponding angles. Think of the word correspond, and what does it mean? You're looking at the same position. So we're going to identify angles that are in the same position. By definition, corresponding angles lie on the same side of transversal T and also on the same sides of lines R and S. So same side of transversal T, so maybe the left of transversal T, and above lines R and lines S. So an example of a pair would be angle 1 and angle 5. Another corresponding angle pair would be angle 3 and angle 7. Again, same side of transversal, same side of lines R and S. There are other corresponding angle pairs in this diagram, angle 4 and angle 8, as well as angle 2 and angle 6. For our next angle pair, we have alternate interior. Alternate means you're going one and then the other. Interior, you're on the inside. So let's apply that to its definition. Alternate interior angles are non-adjacent, meaning they do not sit side by side. They lie on the opposite sides of transversal T and between lines R and S. Between should make sense since we are on the interior and they're on the opposite side of the transversal. So for example, a pair would be 4 and 6 and also 3 and 5. For our alternate exterior, we're now looking at angles that lie on the opposite sides of transversal T. Again, they are alternate, but now on the outside of lines R and S. So your alternate exterior angle pairs would be angles 1 and 7 and angles 2 and 8. And for our last vocabulary, we have same side interior. So they're on the same side but on the inside. Another name for these angles are consecutive interior. Consecutive meaning one right after another. So again, on the same side of that transversal T and then between lines R and S, interior. So 4 and 5 make a pair, and angles 3 and 6 make a pair. Again, for your homework assignment, be sure to finish those other problems 1 through 4. Take a look at all this new vocabulary and notation, and we'll see you next time.